Hey, welcome to Youth Ministry Roundtable, the original Youth Ministry Roundtable Hangout, number 23, I believe. I think last time was 22. So,
Michael Jordan.
welcome. We are here with Ben Reed from Illinois. We are here from with Delmar from Prosperity, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And we're here with Keith from wherever he's from. And so we're here to talk about communication. And so we're really excited about that. We were just communicating earlier about the amazing reward system that Kroger has. It's amazing. You don't have a Kroger in your city, you're missing out. Unless you have Publix, which is amazing too. But anyways, so back
Because
to
we don't have either of those up here. All we got is like Walmart, Aldi.
do you have Chick-fil-A?
We have Chick-fil-A, but we got Piggly Wiggly, which is...
Hey, we have Piggly Wiggly.
That's adorable. All right. All right, Ben, ask us some questions about communication.
And we'll communicate as best we can.
Yeah, maybe you could communicate that in a nicer way.
Ben, por favor.
I always say por favor. I don't know why. It just happens.
That's racist.
Oh, hold on.
I heard my
Yeah, I had the YouTube page up to share the link in our MailChimp, and it just started playing. So,
nice.
So yeah, if you don't subscribe to our email thing, every Monday we send out a free item. This week, it's some dumb game about some dumb social media network that Frank made. Just kidding. It's awesome. You're going to want to download it. It's free, so why not? But speaking of that, first question we want to talk about is what tools are out there. We sort of discussed this, that some of these are so basic to a lot of people, but then there's people who don't know what you can use. So what do you guys use for communication? And not just digital, but like analog as well, not just social media, but what are ways that you communicate with your church body or your parents, all that?
Well, I'll just throw this one at Frank and give him some credits. He told me about Worswag like a year ago. And is he frozen? I don't even see him moving. That's a very nice smile he has there. But yeah, I use Worswag. It's for your iPhone app. You just type the words in there, and it just makes legit graphics and keeps it pretty simple. You can put it out on all your social media, and it requires little effort from you.
Yeah. I know for us, the probably the most effective tool we've got is the texting service. There's a million of them out there.
Remind 101 is what we use.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's a free one. We use something called SendHub, which works well for us. We've got a group for parents, for students, for each of our life groups, and all of our life group leaders have access to send stuff to their groups. So it works well for us. That's probably the most effective means that we use as far as the communication tools for that.
Yeah, I use DYMText or it's called DYMText. So I have a DYM membership, and it came with the free texting thing. And for a while, I wasn't going to use that because I thought it was kind of limiting. But our other text messaging service failed on us and just charging us a ton. And so I checked out DYM, and they actually have a lot of cool features that other services didn't have. So we use that as our texting thing. And then I utilize our website for communication, which is on Squarespace. And then I use MailChimp, which my little tool that I don't know if a ton of people know about, maybe they do, is this app here called MC Snap. And basically it's MailChimp, and you just kind of you can upload a photo from Instagram or a small little image, and you can send a MailChimp campaign through that app. And just one image and some text, and it is really quick to send a quick MailChimp out. So that's what we use.
Nice. So I have a question about texting before I talk about my tools. Because I know when I first got in full-time youth ministry and texting and keywords were all the rage, and I was totally that I don't know, unprepared guy. I feel like every 2 weeks I was all right, text this number to subscribe. I'm always changing plans because I could never find a good price and good options. But what are your how effective really is texting? Because the cheapest one, even for DYMText, it comes free with that. Remind 101, when I've tried to use it, it's not as intuitive for youth ministry, but most options are like $15, $35. Is that really worth the cost to text your students 4 times a month, or how do you really make that effective?
Yeah.
For me, it is. I text them more than 4 times a month, though. I text them probably twice a week, at least for sure before every service. Not because they are forgetful, but I use it a ton in my ministry, and a lot of if I don't text them, they will say, "Well, I didn't get a text about it, so I don't know." And so our students have become very dependent on that text messaging thing. The only thing that it's kind of hard. Well, one, if you don't have a budget, it's kind of hard to justify $15, $20 a month. But two, it's just you're always limited to how many characters they have. So I'm always trying to figure out creative ways to link it to our website or link it to a tweet or something. You know what I'm saying? Because you're limited, just like a tweet is, with so many characters.
Okay.
Yeah, for us, the texting it's crucial. We pay like $40 or $50 a month for our service. But I mean, I've got like 170 students in our student group. I've got 95 parents in the parent group, and then all of my adult leaders can do stuff. I mean, for us, it's huge. Like, people are always subscribing to it, and they're always checking it out. And I get students that will mention it almost every time.
And for me, I'm just kind of on that lower end of the budget where I'm at now. So we do stick with Remind 101. Just going to say it, but I have 100 students every day who signed up to get scripture. And so we use it as a ministry. Also, I can connect with my leaders really fast. I can connect my students, and it's really I don't know how y'all's are, but you can just interface between audiences like at a click of a button. I wouldn't mind checking out another one, but just where I'm at now and where I think a lot of churches are, that's where they're at,
If I could add one thing, because I like what you said, though. I use DYMText for our mass communication thing, but I use GroupMe, which I don't encourage a lot of people to use as their group text, because it's terrible for that. But if you're having like a small, I'll give you an example. We have a small group of guys for our small groups, and I challenge them, if I'm willing to send you a verse every day, will you read it? And they said, yeah. And so in GroupMe, I send them a verse, and the rules for this GroupMe app is you can only respond if it has to do with the verse or the small group. No like goofy memes or just random topics. Like, it's only for the Bible verse in the small group, and it's worked. And I mean, those are the ground rules. Because if you don't set those ground rules, it's gonna be ridiculous to have a group chat with 1,000 kids from all scopes of life. So that's what I use for the verses, and it's been effective in our group, and it's free.
Yeah, and I would say, I know as far as tools, a big one that we sort of started using with Youthman before we used it with our team, we were talking about this earlier, is Slack. We had been trying to use GroupMe before that. We were just using Facebook group for our site leaders, site contributors, and Slack is such a game changer. So it's so streamlines it. I love Slack. You can open it up as a browser on your computer, but it's group text messaging. You can have several different threads, conversations. My favorite thing about it is the Giphy app that's built in within it. It's like Russian roulette. You just type in something and it pops a random GIF in there. So you never know what you.
Let's give a disclaimer though. We're not endorsing the GIFs in there, because sometimes the GIFs can be inappropriate. So
I was showing my leader the other day. Oh, go ahead.
If you use this in your ministry, just be mindful of that, because I don't know where the GIFs come from and how they process that, but it's not a Christian app. So be careful as you play Russian roulette with the GIFs.
Yeah, it's like having Pandora streaming at your youth group around Valentine's Day, and you have commercials inserted. Just gonna leave it there.
That's a great example.
And if you're the associate pastor in our contributors group who doesn't know how to use technology, apparently, if you post something and it's inappropriate, you can delete it. So we use Slack. As far as communication of the tools, I mean, obviously, the basic ones: Instagram, Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We can probably have a whole hangout on pages versus groups. I think pages are way better. Our church is actually right now shutting down all of our Facebook groups to go to pages, just because it can lead to so much drama when anyone can post in the group and sort of contradict stuff that's going on with how the church believes and stuff. But Slack we use. I might look into texting. Maybe one of you guys can post an article on how to maximize your texting effectiveness with communication. Just because I've never been able to use it as effectively just because it takes so much time for me. We have our website up that links with our Facebook page, and like Frank, we use MailChimp to get out every week sort of here's what we talked about, here's upcoming events, here's what you need to know as parents. But yeah, as far as communicating with students, it's primarily Instagram, and we're, I guess, the odd group that still uses Facebook a ton. As far as analog, I'm all about Moleskine still. I just got the Evernote Moleskine, and it's pretty great to remind me I need to message my leaders this, I need to email my team these documents for our next planning meeting. There's a lot of stuff like that. Moleskine.
Yeah.
Moleskine.
I thought it was Moleskine.
Well, there's an E on it, so I would say Moleskine.
I mean, whatever.
Dude. Hold on. Since you're going to nerd out with your Moleskine, I'm going to nerd out. Have you heard of the ARC book yet? Have y'all heard of this thing?
No.
This thing is awesome. They got it at Staples.
Oh, have
like,
I?
Snap.
You know what?
You can get
What is that?
This is
You
worthless
can-
to me now.
Oh, well, I like it. You can actually hole punch your own punch, and when you put it in here, it just looks like it was bound from the store.
Yeah.
And it's really good for keeping your handouts together, organized, your sermons. I've preached out of it. I've led worship out of it because you could just take it out and put stuff in it. It's pretty. It's called ARC, and it's at Staples. They don't have them at Kroger. Sorry, Frank.
Yeah. And what's to do with every Staples shutting down? That's sort of ticking me off. Like Staples, Office Depot, Office Max are all shutting down around me. But
They just built a brand new Staples right next to me, so.
all right, my prediction: it'll be shut down within a year. They just do that. Yeah, ARC is great. It's just I need more for my planners. I have so many meetings that I gotta keep track of. So yeah. My Moleskines are great, and then also just there's a lot of things that I need sort of that daily reminder of who I got to communicate with, and it's great in here to keep track of. I had coffee with this student. I had coffee with this student, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So just sort of be able to keep track of who I'm communicating with. I've only ever found one app that's been great for that, and I think it's called MinistryPro.com. It was just something that when I left my last church, didn't want to pay for it anymore, but it's really a great tool for youth groups to use, but not a lot of people know about it. So that was another tool that's great.
You know, as far as leader, communication, I'll tell you my ace in the hole. I'll show you my hand. Her name is Sherry, and she is a leader, and she's awesome. Like, she has a degree in communications and all that, and like I can literally say, hey, I need everybody to know this, and they'll hear it like 4 different ways.
Yeah.
Like, having someone trained to do that for me has saved my job like 5 times.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Siri actually worked the way that Siri is supposed to, like Sherry?
Oh man. Yeah, if you could get a Sherry, that you'd be lucky.
Yeah. Come on, Tim Cook, step your game up. All right. Next question. Sorry,
go ahead. I was going to say, I think something that we're all saying is that, like, we try to communicate in a bunch of different ways, and I think that's huge. Like, if we only text, that's probably not going to work. If we only tweet, that's probably not going to work. I'm all about, okay, we've got an Instagram, we've got a Twitter, we've got a Facebook group, we've got the texting thing. I'm putting stuff in the church bulletin so that parents might come across it. I'm putting calendars and brochures and stuff in people's hands, like, so they've got stuff. I just think it's important to communicate as many ways as possible.
Yeah. Definitely. You're never going to get in trouble for over communicating, but you'll always get in trouble for under communicating.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with communication, I'll ask this one first. What are things that, like, the big no-nos with communication? What are things that, like, you see a church or a business do and you're always like, that was extremely dumb? Like, for me, there's a billboard that I drive past on my way from my house to the church every day that is this giant billboard way away from the road, and they've got this QR code on it. And I look at that and, like, that is the stupidest thing in the world. Because, like, first off, if you could get close enough, your phone's not going to register the QR code. And second off, yeah, what are things like that you see in communication and you scratch your head, or like me, I get angry?
Yeah. Well, I think communicating in ways that just are becoming more irrelevant. I literally went to a youth conference this weekend, and the band plugged their MySpace page.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I was like, wow, is this Sonic Flood or something? I don't know. No offense to Sonic Flood. Just saying.
They were great. It's not,
Yeah, I know, right? I loved it.
I just read about MySpace is getting back to like millions and millions of daily views because of all the Throwback Thursdays that everyone's going back to MySpace to grab their old pictures.
wow.
I thought that was interesting. So yeah,
awesome.
using MySpace to communicate at youth events.
Or just, outdated ways of communication, I guess is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
I think with me is man, that QR code thing is so funny. Like that was a waste of technology that should never been created. But for me, it's just like it's trying to do too much. I mean, like we talk about communicating in multiple ways, but at the same time, we should be awfully thinking like, how can we condense that? Like, if I post a picture on Instagram, I love that on Instagram it could sit on Facebook and tweet. You know what I'm saying? So that efficiency, like when people like just try to do too much, whether it's making a really flashy website when it could just be simple, or I don't know. For me, when it comes to communication, my issue more comes down to like the actual design of stuff. And so like if you're not a good graphic artist, like if you don't have Photoshop, don't try to be too complicated. Just get like 2 or 3 really good fonts and just slap black font on white paper. Don't try to get crazy with clip art, or you can go to nomoreclipart.com and get better images. But
boom.
But it's a running joke that churches use papyrus and Comic Sans, and that's terrible, right? But just simplifying. Like we live in a great time for art because modern art is minimal, and so you can make really good stuff with just a good font.
And I'll say
definitely
real quick on that note, and it was something that it made me laugh and so angry like 6 years ago when I read it when I was at a church that did this. I think kind of worse than a church using Comic Sans or papyrus like in the last 10 years is when a church only uses Arial bold 12-point font for everything. Or just like if you open up your bulletin or if you send a newsletter to parents and it's all just one-page solid text Arial bold 12-point font. Like I don't think anything is worse than that. That you want to be simple, but like you got to have a little bit more than that. So
right, yeah.
But I think another way we mess up with student ministry is like if we don't engage them, like their attention spans are 10 seconds long, and when we try to engage them with this bulletin of thing that takes 5 minutes to read, like their parents probably won't see it. And that's why we utilize videos in our student ministry. That's why we utilize things like that, just quick 10-second things, keep the attention, because when it's long or when it never changes, they just quit. They tune out.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before. I think Ben mentioned it. There's a Tumblr account called like Bad Church Announcements or something, and it's just
stop making church announcements.
Yeah, stop me. Yeah, and I'm not saying people like someone asked me like why do we use video announcements for a youth group? And not everyone needs to do it. And we're not even consistent with it. We don't do it every single week. But one thing I know is if you can't make a video done with excellence, like good quality audio and a good camera, then don't bother doing it. Otherwise, you'll deal with like, I'm gonna try a green screen, and then you just have a head floating, and like this weird stuff. Like that. Like just do simple stuff. And one thing about announcements I think is crucial. Don't try to list every announcement between now and July.
Oh man.
Like, just the next 2 events. And then wait 2 weeks out for the next event. Like you don't need to go too far ahead because kids aren't going to care what's 3 months from now unless it's like a sign up for summer camp or something.
And I would say with that, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
I would say with that. I'm just going to go
Ben.
Right. With that, change your communication as well. Like right now, we've been talking with our men's pastor at church that. Since I got here like 4 months ago, they've been advertising our men's Bible studies, but it's the same graphic that they use, but they'll change the dates for like, all right, spring class or fall class, but that's the only difference on it. And so I make the joke that like, all right, you've got 4 posters hanging above the men's urinals, and maybe it's just me because I'm in there a lot more often than most people in church, but like you start to tune those out. Like even we have our vision statements on the wall in our sanctuary, but at a certain point, those go from standing out to being different, where even if you just change the font and color but keep the same words, like changing up the way something looks is going to help communicate. So if you have an event, like if it's right now and you're planning for summer camp, put a new poster up every month for it. So, things like that.
Change is good. I think, to kind of speak to Frank's thing about doing videos with excellence, when I first came into student ministry, we were still shooting 420p, man. It was crazy. And, it's hard to get my production value up when technology was so low, and I know a lot of people don't have that. And I'll say, if you're going to do videos and you can't afford production, you just make sure that it's creative.
Yeah.
If it's creative, sometimes, what I did is we would play a game with announcements, and every time the leader would guess the announcement wrong, we'd shoot him with a paintball. It didn't take a lot, but the pain got the announcement through,
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of Josh Griffin and Jake Rutenbar. They used to do the video announcements for the Simply Youth Ministry Conference.
Oh, man,
those are still all on YouTube. Those are great, but that was from, I think, Church Pro, something like that. There's some blog I read a while ago of don't do gimmicks in announcements if you're not going to do them great. That even when Saturday Night Live tries to be funny every week and they're professionals, they still bomb every week.
That's so good. Yeah.
That's going to be true of churches, that we're not going to be funny consistently. Even Willow Creek stopped doing the funny videos because you can't be consistently funny. You're going to produce videos that make people groan more than remember the announcement. So.
I think something else we need to be good about is trusting the announcements that we've made, that we've gotten out, because I think it's real easy to see a student as they're walking into church and go, hey, don't forget to sign up for summer camp today. If you sign up before February 1st, you save money. Trust the stuff that you've made, trust the posters, trust the text, trust the Instagram, whatever, and don't make your entire relationship with every student and every parent about getting them to the next event.
Yeah. One other thing, and then we're going to go to another question. Sorry, I'm talking so much about it. Well, I guess it's two things. Have somebody edit anything you send to parents. I'm always getting in trouble. Every time I wrote now our secretaries at church, they're always one of them was joking with me about the other one's behavior because I walked out of the bathroom last week and got hounded of you spelled this wrong, you spelled this wrong, you spelled this wrong, and it was just funny of wasn't expecting it, just guerrilla attack. But I gotta spell check everything, grammar check everything, capitalize a lot of random words and throw in apostrophes. And one of the issues with that right now is we've got a student who her mom's a Christian, she's not. And it's not that she's forced to come, she doesn't mind coming, but she'll always nitpick things on the car ride home of this is why they're not credible. And she'll use stuff if I misspelled a word, she'll use that to discredit my entire sermon. Things like that. So just being proactive about that. The second thing that I always hate myself when I do it, if I'm going to send home the student calendar or the student leadership handbook, this is our student leader handbook right now, and it drives me nuts that there's no actual contact information, and that our leaders are all going to know it, but it's all right, I didn't put the Facebook page, the Instagram page, or any of that. That needs to be on everything that we print and produce. Just for there we go, Keith. That is a can I say sexy looking calendar? I don't know.
Yeah, sexy is good. I like sexy.
And that's available for purchase on youthmanresources.com.
Yes, indeed.
Seriously though, I love that. Any other things of do not do this in church communication?
I'll say this: if you find that people aren't receiving communication in that area, don't waste your time doing it. So I've almost you say you still use Facebook. Our kids are never our kids are leaving Facebook in the droves, and I would say outside of texting, the most effective place is Instagram. Believe it or not, and so that's why I invest in Worswag and things like that to send great image and news through that, because Twitter is barely utilized and Snapchat's the devil. So there's no other way to get to Instagram. So.
Well, what about Tinder? I've been noticing that.
No.
JK.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, that just happened. Hey, at least I didn't take my shirt off again this time.
Again.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
So, who does it well? Is there a youth group that you guys see and you're I love what they're doing. I want to be just like them. I want to communicate like them.
I do love I do love Justin Herman's middle school ministry Instagram account. It's a great mix of like announcements and then the energy of their weekend. Like, here's faces of my leaders. Here's a goofy game we played. Here's like the worship time, and then hey, here's this event. Don't miss this. And it's a good mix of that where it doesn't just feel like it's an announcement feed, but it's actually like I could see students in his ministry like checking it out every week to see if they made it onto the Instagram account or whatever. I think he does a good job with that.
Yeah, and I know it's like they post 2 or 3 times a day, but it's great. I think they do great with that too. Who else do you guys like?
I'm looking right now to try to figure out who all right,
I'll go. There's a church down in Texas. It's Life Students ATX. I think Nick Farr had connected me with, pointed them out to me. I love how they communicate, of just their photo recaps. There's so much stuff that they do that I keep showing my adult leaders the last 2 weeks. Like, this is how I want to communicate on Facebook and Instagram, is just like them. So we'll post their Instagram account when we post this up on the site as well. And I mean, up until a few weeks ago, I always loved Mars Hill's. They would always do like around Mars Hill recaps, and then their Instagram.
They did an awesome job.
Yeah, their communications department as a whole, like graphics, web, all of that was always awesome. But
yeah, I would say Mariners is really good at communicating. I mean, that what Keith said, their junior high ministry. I don't follow their high school ministry, but I'm probably assuming it's probably gonna be almost as good, if not as good. And then, yeah, man, I used to try to be so much like Mars Hill in the sense of the way they communicate through Twitter and Instagram, because they did a really good job. The Village Church, I follow a lot more churches, and the way the church communicates is how I want my student ministry eventually to communicate. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think my youth group does the best job at it, so I don't know anyone even
ever.
So.
I don't know about y'all, but more students tend to follow the leaders and the youth pastors around here than the actual student ministry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that applies to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always feel weird. Like, I don't, even on our 180 students Instagram account, I always feel weird just following random people. Like, not random people, they're all connected to our students, but just because some of the stuff that's gone on in our youth group, I'm always like, I can't follow people unless they follow me first, which I don't know if that's a rule that you guys follow as well or what.
A lot of times that's how I do it.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, you talking about the student ministry or your personal account?
Student ministry.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
If a student likes their stuff, then I'll be like, okay, they're obviously hashtagging it and trying to find it. You know, or if it's a core student, you know, but if it's a fringe, you know, just a first timer, and you know, especially if she's like some middle school girl, I'm not just gonna like, oh, I'm gonna follow you, you know. But if she follows, you know,
I don't know. Me personally, since I don't like, I'm not on the youth ministry. I don't like check my phone and just scroll through the timeline of our youth group Instagram account. So I'll follow back everyone simply because kids appreciate follow backs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I don't like, if I'm going through my stream, it's going to be on my personal account, and which I'm way more careful about who I follow back. Than the youth ministry account, I don't really care because I don't really like. I'm not going through. Even though there are times where I'll like my students' Instagram pictures, if it has to do with our youth group. Or like if they're in band or in sports, I'll be like, oh yeah, and so on there it says narrowed SM, like your football picture or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a little,
So I know we've got a good-sized group of live viewers right now. We're going to sort of start wrapping up, but there's a questions and answer feature that if you have a question about church communication that you want us to discuss real quick, we're going to be on for another few minutes that we'd love to answer those questions. But what are things that have been most effective for you? Like, here's a question that I think a lot of people would have, but no one really ever asked. For a youth ministry, what are some of the best ways you can see in growing the Instagram followers? Because we just talked, like, you can't just mass follow people. But
what I've done that's helped that a lot is I will send a lot of my students pictures that I make on Worswag. I like making 6 different pictures saying the same thing. I'll have them post it, tag the student ministry in it, and that gets a lot more exposure.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it comes down to philosophy because I know one thing we talked about is the best practices for social media from a ministry is to not just put out announcements but to engage.
Yeah.
And I fail at that. Like I don't even pretend like I'm a social media master. Like I use social media to engage with the kids. I actually don't. I use social media in a way that's probably the worst practice, as kind of an outlet for information, or as much as I can to remember, just posting pictures of life in the youth group. And so, at the end of the day, I'm not really interested in growing my Instagram account or Twitter account to having a ton of followers, as much as I just want to make sure the kids in my youth group are following those accounts. Does that make sense? So, but to that degree, what I found is my account gets more followers, kind of how Delmar brought up, when the kids are tagging the youth group. So if the kids are saying like, man, I'm having a great time at Neroda Sem, then I'll get like 3 more followers that night or 4 more followers.
Yeah. No, that's good. Just the engage, not just megaphone shouting at kids your announcements.
Yeah.
Keith, you got anything?
Yeah, I was going to say something we've done a couple of times is had students interact with the message from our Wednesday night on social media, and that has been helpful. Like, hey, this is your response to the message that I just shared, and if you want to like make this a public proclamation and do this on your Instagram or on your Twitter or whatever, and make sure you tag us in the process. And that's been a good.
That's really cool.
Yeah. We're doing that with our series we're starting this week. We're doing blank space with relationships, and each week is sort of like week 1 is love is blank. We're going to take a look on like biblical love, and then like week 5 is a godly woman is blank. And so we're going to be encouraging our students to like fill that out during the week on Instagram, right? Like love is blank. What does that mean to you? Kind of the whole Jesus is campaign that what is it? Judah Smith, but what's their church name? City Church.
Church.
So yeah, we're doing that with our blank space series. But yeah.
You know, to bring up one speaker point about better communication, I know one of the things I think the best communication across the board happens when I'm communicating with my leaders the best. And I just noticed, like, when it comes to that, the better your relationship is with your leaders, the better your communication always is. You know, because you tend to talk to them more. So I think if you want there to be more communication in your student ministry as a whole, like, invest into relationships because people listen more just because you talk more.
Yeah. Yeah. Meeting more is always good. I think we're coming up on like 45 minutes. So I'm going to start wrapping it up. I know Frank's got to get to some stuff, but I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I always love talking about different communication. And yeah, we're going to, when this finishes processing on YouTube, we'll post it up on youthmin.org, and we'll put links to all the stuff we sort of talked about, the apps, the things we follow, and all that. So check that out. Download this week's free game. There's another few days on the January Youth Ministry Bundle that I think is a great deal, but we'll have a new one in February 1st, so be looking for that. So until next week, have a great week. Good luck with youth group this week, and praying for you all. God bless.
See ya.
Take care.
Frank's got to do a salute.